Hey, I'm Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise and BoardGameGeek, and this is March 2020's top 10 hottest games based on the titles generating the most mojo on the BoardGameGeek website over the past 30 days. These games are tracked on the site's hottest games list, and the higher and longer a game remains on that list throughout the course of the month, the higher it ranks in our top 10 overall. Speaking of which, I gotta be honest, each game on this month's list has previously appeared on our top 10 at least once over the past few months. So, to keep things kind of spicy, I'm gonna include the bottom 10 ranking games from the hotness list as well this time. 156 different games appeared on the list over the past 30 days, so let's get our blood pumping and our pulse pounding by taking a look at this month's top and bottom games. The 10th highest ranking game on this month's list is Spirit Island by Greater Than Games, a cooperative game in which players defend their island home from colonizing invaders. In the game, players are different spirits of the land, each with their own unique elemental powers. Then, every turn, they simultaneously choose which of their power cards to play, paying energy to do so. Using combinations of power cards that match a spirit's elemental affinities can grant free bonus effects as well. And different abilities trigger at different speeds, requiring forethought and planning to use them effectively. Now, the 10th lowest ranking game on the list this month is Race for the Galaxy by Rio Grande Games, a card game in which players build galactic civilizations by playing game cards in front of themselves that represent various worlds or technical and social developments. Some worlds allow players to produce goods, which can be consumed later in the game to gain either card draws or victory points when the appropriate technologies are available to them. In 2018, the game was updated with a second edition that improved it for color blindness and included 5 revised cards from the original version and 6 new world promo homeworld card things that are probably pieces that you use in the game. Now, just in case you weren't aware of this second edition, these promo homeworlds and the first edition compatible revised cards are both available for purchase in the BGG online store. Coming in at number 9 this month is Brass Birmingham from Roxley, an economic strategy game sequel to what some may call Martin Wallace's 2007 masterpiece, Brass. Now, Brass Birmingham tells the story of competing entrepreneurs during the Industrial Revolution while incorporating several new systems for selling, some breweries, manufactured goods, market modifications, and more. But I've already covered all of that in previous episodes, but a game that I haven't covered is the one that comes in 9th from the bottom of the hotness list this month, which is 2008's Metropolis from Yatsari Games. In Metropolis, players are urban planners in a quest of prestige. Over the course of the game, they will construct buildings in the best possible locations that they can find. Spaces on the board are differentiated by metro spaces, which reward players with the most points at the end of the game, archaeological sites, which are worth minus points and penalize the players who most recently built on one, and fashionable locations, which are just worth extra points, because you can't go wrong with points. Now, as soon as each player has placed all of their buildings, the game ends, and the player with the most prestige is the winner. 8th from the top this month is Arkham Horror the Card Game from Fantasy Flight Games, a living card game of Lovecraftian mystery, monsters, and madness. In the game, the player's choices and actions have consequences that reach far beyond the immediate resolution of the scenario at hand, and their actions may yield valuable experiences which will better prepare them for the adventures that still lie ahead. And 8th from the bottom this month is Circle the Wagons from Buttonshy, in which players blaze a trail by drafting cards round the circle and placing them in their town, trying to connect matching territories to score prosperity points. But don't forget about them there 3 bonus cards in the center of the circle that can score you even more points, partner. That is, if you play your cards right. With nearing 5,000 unique ways to score, millions of drafting and placing combos, you'll never see the same town twice. And you'll never hear me speak this way ever again. Retaining its spot at number 7 this month is Tainted Grail, Fall of Avalon by Awakened Realms. In a land that is slowly sinking into the weirdness and torn apart by conflict, surviving each day is a challenge all on its own. To overcome the challenges that this game presents to players, their character must develop several conflicting attributes, such as brutality, empathy, practicality, and spirituality. These traits unlock a rich choice of mutually exclusive skills and lead to different deck building strategies with the objective of making character advancement meaningful and deep. But now, let's continue diving deeper into the hotness list by looking at the 7th game from the other end of it, Cooper Island from Frosted Games. In the age of exploration, players try to settle and explore a giant island, which I suspect is Cooper Island. They do this by placing landscape tiles. Now, landscape tiles grant resources which are used to erect buildings with special abilities. Furthermore, barriers on the island need to be removed in order to explore the island even further. Along the way, players build valuable statues and ships deliver supplies from the old world, which they'll need in order to successfully settle Cooper Island. Hey, Cooper Island! Yeah, I was right. It was Cooper. That's the name. It's the name of the game. So yay, it worked. Everything worked. Everything worked. It worked out. Revving up to spot number 6 is Root, an area control game featuring asymmetric animal abilities by Leader Games. Root reveals a realm of resourceful rodents and aerial revolutionaries revolting in wrathful retaliation, rallying to reclaim real estate recently robbed by the reprehensible rampaging royal, Marquis de Cat, who rapaciously reaches to rob the rural regions of all the riches that he can wrangle. And 6th, on the other end of the countdown, is the upcoming self-published Storm Sunder Heirs of Ruin, a solo or cooperative RPG board game for 1 to 4 players that takes place in an immersive and interactive world where players decide the flow of the story. This game features an in-depth character progression and deck building system, all wrapped up in a fast-paced combat system that remains fresh and interesting fight to fight. The top half of this month's list starts with Marvel Champions, the card game by Fantasy Flight Games. Marvel Champions, the card game, invites 1 to 4 players to embody iconic heroes from the Marvel Universe as they battle to stop infamous villains from enacting their devious schemes. This game has already had several expansions released for it, featuring additional heroes and villains, which are added into the mix, and there's already even more expansions in the works, which I can't remember the name of, but boy howdy, there's a few more coming, and there's going to be a lot more content for it on the way. And another game that has a lot of content, he said, salvaging this segue perfectly, is Clank, a deck building adventure, which comes in at the other end of the list, in which players delve underground in order to sneak into an angry dragon's mountain lair to steal precious artifacts. Now, the deeper players go, the more valuable the loot that they're going to find, but here's the catch. You're still going to have to make it out of the dungeon alive with it. Now, each player starts the game with the same deck of cards, but they'll acquire different ones throughout the course of their turns. And because cards can do so many different things, each player's deck, and therefore strategy, will ultimately become more and more different as the game unfolds. At number 4 this month is Wingspan, designed by Elizabeth Hargrave and published by Stonemaier Games. Wingspan is a competitive, medium-weight, card-driven engine-building game in which you and your fellow players are bird enthusiasts, researchers, bird watchers, ornithologists, and collectors, each seeking to discover and attract the best birds to your network of wildlife preserves. And 4th from the other end of the countdown is Puerto Rico, where players assume the roles of colonial governors on the island of Puerto Rico Island is the one we're talking about now. Now, the aim of this game is to amass victory points by shipping products to Europe or by constructing buildings. Now, each player uses a separate small board with spaces for city buildings, plantations, and their resources. They then grow crops, which they can exchange for points or doubloons. And doubloons can then be used to buy buildings, which allow players to produce more crops and give them additional abilities. Overall, it's yet another island that's got a lot of stuff going on. Rounding out the top 3 is Terraforming Mars, a game that takes place in the 2400s when mankind begins to terraform the planet Mars by initiating huge projects to raise the red planet's temperature, its oxygen level, and the ocean coverage until the environment is habitable. In the game, victory points are awarded not only for each player's contribution to the terraforming, but also for advancing human infrastructure throughout the solar system and doing other commendable things like teaching sign language to orphan kids. Conversely, third from the tail end of the list this month, we find The Gallerist from Eagle Gryphon Games. Combining the elements of an art dealer, museum curator, and artist's manager, players take on the job of master gallerist, and in doing so, they promote and nurture artists, buy, display, and sell their art, and build and exert their international reputation. As a result, a winner emerges who achieves the respect needed to draw visitors to their gallery even, from all over the world. I was going to make a joke about Delaware, but that slip of the tongue was actually better than anything that was written in the script. So let's move on. Second from the top is last month's #1 hottest game, On Mars, also from Eagle Gryphon Games. In On Mars, each player's goal is to develop a self-sustaining Martian colony independent of any terrestrial organization. As this colony expands, players will shift their focus to constructing mines, power generators, water extractors, greenhouses, oxygen factories, and shelters. While doing all of this, players are also trying to complete missions. Once a total of 3 missions has been completed, well, then the game ends, and the player with the most victory points, called opportunity points, is declared the winner. And also, making a brief appearance, second from the bottom of the hotness list this month, is Madara Unintentional Malum Act 1 by Succubus Publishing. Madara is a 1 to 4 player cooperative choose-your-own-adventure style miniatures board game in which players assume the role of a party of adventurers in an ultra-modern fantasy setting that exists alongside our very own Earth, including Delaware. Now, throughout the narrative, the adventuring party will confront real decisions that change the course of the story and its outcome. And reclaiming the top spot on the countdown for the first time since last September is Gloomhaven, a game of Euro-inspired tactical combat in a persistent world of shifting motives by Cephalofair Games. In this game, players must work together out of necessity to clear out menacing dungeons and forgotten ruins. In the process, they'll enhance their abilities with experience and loot, discover new locations to explore and plunder, and expand an ever-branching story fueled by the decisions that they make. And that's, of course, Gloomhaven at the top of the list. But the game that we find at the bottom of the hotness list this month is 2017's Fallout by Fantasy Flight Games, a post-nuclear adventure board game for 1 to 4 players. Based on the hit video game series, survivors begin the game on the edge of an unexplored landscape, uncertain of what awaits them in this unfamiliar world. And with just one objective to guide them from the very beginning, each player must explore the hidden map, fight ferocious enemies, and build the skills of their survival as they attempt to complete challenging quests and balance feuding factions within the game. And there you have it. There's a look at the games at the top and bottom of the hotness list as of March 2020. For more board game news, reviews, playthroughs, countdowns, and video type content, be sure to subscribe, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any videos, and until next time, I've been Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise and BoardGameGeek. Take care.